Hey guys, it's Mama de Cinco coming to you today to do a brief demonstration on a pumping session to empty the breast, as well as letting you guys know what tools are in my breast milk maintenance toolbox. And last but certainly not least, a review on Milky Mama's Emergency Lactation Brownies. A mouthful. Stay tuned. Up next, everything you need to know about breast pumping and feeding from my perspective and journey. Okay, I have all of the pieces. The pump that I prefer is the Medela manual. I believe it's called the Harmony breast pump. I was provided this while at the hospital via the lactation consultant, Sarah. And it's pretty easy to assemble. It has, I'm going to assume this is a gauge that goes into the rubber component that's going to create a compression. It has the handle, which also comes with the leg down side. I don't know if you guys can see that. As well as the actual pumping lever. And these two pieces go into each other. There's a little like groove so you can make sure that it'll actually pump. And then you have your flange, which you want to make sure does not rub against your breast. You may or may not have to get a larger size. And then there's this gout here. Make sure that that's tight. You're gonna hook it on with the let down portion, I would say facing towards the flange to begin with, or you can turn it, whichever is easier or more convenient for you. You're then gonna take that portion that's already connected and hook it onto a bottle. Turn and make sure it's secure. You also have the option with Medela, not sure which one is actually the correct pronunciation since I hear people say it either way. They also have a shortcut to the bottle. You can actually pump into the bag, which I found to be somewhat convenient, but a lot of the times I'll go over 5 ounces, so I don't really care for the bags unless I'm pouring into the bags. So once I have my pump ready to go, you're then going to take it and place it over your areola, making sure that it does not rub against the sides. If it does, then you'll probably need a larger flange. Then you're going to, if you don't feel a suction, chances are you didn't hook it up correctly, and I'm not getting any suction, so that tells me I need to take a minute and go back and figure out where I went wrong. When I first started pumping, I would always have to ask Cinco's dad to help me because I would always put the pieces together incorrectly, and he keeps telling me I need to learn to work all my technology by myself and also my pump. So here's to a second try. Making sure that breast goes in, nipple is not touching sides. Still not getting anything. There's also this little piece right here. Dad washed the bottle, so of course he deconstructed the entire bottle. this part, and it also comes with more of the white. If you don't have it in there, it won't even work at all. So you're gonna clasp that in there, back into the bottle, put my lever back on. And had I paid, I'm not a details person, so which is probably why I didn't realize that that important piece is missing. So now we should be able to get some suction. Here we go again for the third time, putting breast into pump or the flange, and now I have some suction. The baby typically does short bursts while they're trying to get the nipple in the correct latching position, and then at that point, for me, because this breast was a little bit engorged because baby doesn't feed as much during the day, he's a heavy night feeder, I didn't have to pump much before you see the, it's my war wounds, pump much before you see the liquid swirling around in there. So pump, pump, and then eventually you can see the liquid starting to release itself into the bottle. So what I like to do is take long pumps, because to me that tends to express the milk without agitating the nipple. I really don't like pumping using the electric at all, because I feel like it moves a little bit too quick even on the slowest suction, and it causes my nipples to become very irritated. So I prefer the manual pump, and in 5 minutes I'm typically able to get up to, between 5 to 10 minutes, I'm able to get between 2 and 5 ounces. So for me, that's good enough. So I'm going to pump the left side and probably speed this up so you guys don't have to watch me pump both sides. As I'm doing the left side, I'm starting to feel a tingling sensation that's running from my shoulders down into my right breast, which is, I'm assuming, the letdown sensation. I remember the first time I got this, I thought that something was wrong, and I probably let my breast get too engorged, and I thought I was gonna break into some kind of like infection and have to go to the doctor. But it's just your body cueing you that, hey, there's milk being made on this side that can also be pumped. If I'm unable to get 5 ounces on this side, I'll probably switch over and pump the other side so that I can put one completely full bottle in the fridge to cool down before I then transfer it into the bags for the freezer. So about a minute in, I have about 2 ounces in this bottle. So gonna speed it up. And I got about 4, just a little under 4 ounces in about 3 minutes. So pretty efficient for me. Once you're done, you can take off the top. Some moms opt to pour straight into the bag, and then they'll chill the bags before they then transfer for the freezer. And some moms, like myself, depending on how I feel, I'll just cap it. What I like about this brand is that they actually come with caps to make it easier for you to store for that period. Based off of their storing schedule, it should not be in the refrigerator for more than 5 days, and it should not be in the regular freezer for more than 5 months, and it should not be in the deep freezer if you have a personal deep freezer for more than a year. So we go by that. And if you're gonna pump, and say, like when I leave and I go to class for me only lasts about 3 hours at a time. If I pump immediately before I go to class and just leave the milk out for baby to take from dad if he takes it, I'll just pump it and leave it out on the stove or the counter, and it'll last for up to depending on who you ask, between 5 to 8 hours out. I try not to go over 5 hours, but for the 3 hours that I'm in class, the milk that I leave on the counter is milk that I can then, if it's unused, transfer it into the refrigerator. So I'm gonna put that cap on, and it locks. This clicks up. Today is Monday. I would click it down, and then I would store that in the refrigerator. I'll go get the container out so I can show you guys what it looks like once the milk has chilled. So we're having some issues with the fridge. If I put the milk too far in the back, it'll freeze. These, what is that? That's 5 ounces, 9.5, 12.5 ounces of liquid gold that have frozen in the refrigerator. So, per breast milk guidelines, I can unthaw this milk and feed it to baby within a 24-hour period, or I can unthaw the milk, which is what I'll probably do, and use it for medicinal purposes, such as say baby has a rash on his face or a scratch I want to heal up very quickly, or I'll put it in his bath water so that he can take a milk bath. Keeps his skin pretty soft and blemish free. But that's not what I wanted to show you. Here's some milk that I pumped last night. It's pretty white, so I'm not sure you can see the separation starting to happen. On the very top, you'll see the hind milk, which is where all of the fatty components of the milk are, and then you'll see the fore milk, which is just liquid. So that's typically what happens when, well, what baby gets when he first starts to feed. So once I notice the separation, or within the next day or so, I try and put it into the freezer bags, and I'll leave it in the regular freezer. Once it's solid, I'll transfer it to the deep freezer. Got these goodies in the mailbox a few days ago, and they are Milky Mama's Emergency Lactation Brownies. It states on the bottom of this container, here you can see, helps increase breast milk supply. No, I do not have an issue with my supply currently, but one of the things that I always like to do is every now and then, like, give it a little shot to try and, you know, increase it, pump a little bit more, store a little bit more in case of an emergency, or once baby transitions from breast to cup. Once he get a little bit older, he still will have breast milk as an option of not necessarily his only form of nourishment, but if the transition between almond or God forbid soy milk needs to happen. So one of the things that drew me to this company is that it's a small grassroots company out of California. The nurse, well, swap that, the mom, because I think mom goes first, slash nurse out in California. After reading around, I think she started the company because she saw there was a need for it. I love the fact that she is also a black mom. And what I've found out is that the movement of breastfeeding is now starting to be revitalized within the black community, and a lot of taboos are being put to rest. So now hashtag Black Moms Breastfeed Too is a very, very, very big movement, and I'm proud to be a part of that by breastfeeding my little one, and also by supporting her company. So initially, upon receiving the brownies, it comes with a little note to the customers. Thank you for your support. We hope you enjoy your order. Here are some tips. We recommend at least 2 treats and or drinks per day. You can always eat or drink more. Freeze any uneaten treats after 2 weeks. Refrigerate lemonade upon delivery, and freeze after 10 days. Don't forget to leave us a review. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe you get 6 brownies when you first get them, and they're in this cute little pack, and they smell so chocolatey. Since having a little one, I've had kind of like an ongoing love affair with chocolate, and I was really, really anxious to try these. Some of the ingredients: sugar, ground flaxseed, as in the Miss Sweetie Pie, or not Miss Sweetie Pie flaxseed fenugreek lactation smoothie. Enriched bleach flour, Also in there, you have some folic acid, which is good for the blood. Brewer's yeast, which is also another lactation aid or supplement that I see a lot of moms sprinkle in their oatmeal or smoothies. So when I got it, as you can see, I already nibbled on it. I already had one full, and I've been nibbling on this for the last couple, like a day or so. When I first got it, I was really excited to try it because I thought that it was going to taste, that the taste of brewer's yeast was going to be completely absent from the brownie. But what I'm learning is that's a very pungent ingredient, and whenever you put a little bit, you're going to teeter on the line of it tasting like whatever it is that it's gonna taste like brewer's yeast. So and I forgot it also has chocolate chunks in it. I had to take another bite so I can make sure I'm giving an honest review. Does it taste like chocolate? Yes. Is it moist? Yes, which is something that is really important for me. You want to eat lactation treats or, you know, aids that taste good. I can tell that she worked very, very hard to disguise the flavors of those, but with someone, I'm not saying I have a very, you know, prominent or very distinguished palate, but I have a slight bougie palate, so I can taste, you know, the undertones of the brewer's yeast, which is for me not a turn on, but it's not a turn off. Can I see myself continuing to eat these treats? Yes. Will I continue to order these treats? I think next time I'll probably try the lemonade so that I can see whether or not it really is the brewer's yeast that I'm picking up, because I haven't had any issues with fenugreek, which is the herbal supplement that is inside of the smoothie. You can also get that in capsule form, and I haven't had any issues with flaxseed tasting a little bit off. I think that these brownies are an awesome buy because they are yum yum yummy, and I'm quite sure that this is probably the reason that my breasts have been filling up a little bit quicker than what they were the week before. Am I having an overabundance in my supply? No, but I can tell that the fatty component in my breast milk is starting to pick up, which means that, you know, more chubs for the baby. And I can tell that it does, if I was to have the 2 a day for, you know, the entire 3 days, which is what 2 a day, if they come 6 in a pack, would get me, I'm sure I would have an increase. So again, Milky Mama's Emergency Lactation Brownies can be purchased online. I'll leave the information below for you guys to order or take a browse around. I like that the company was also personable. Yeah, give it a try. Get a chair. Get a chair.
Go ahead.
Never listens. So have Papi de Cinco, and we're gonna ask Daddy some questions about breastfeeding from a father's perspective, and he's already forewarned me that he's gonna be who he is, and I told him that's what I want. I want him to be honest. I want him to share. So what do you initially, when I came to you and told you I wanted to breastfeed baby exclusively, what was your reaction? Or how did you feel?
I didn't have a problem with it one way or the other. No issues. My only concern was, as long as he's eating, then I'm fine. I really don't care how you're feeding him. I just want to make sure that he's just getting food. That's my sole focus. Other than that, nothing else. I'm good with it.
So a lot of dads feel like if mom is breastfeeding and not pumping, that they're not going to have a role in it. How do you feel, or how did you feel like that, and how did you combat that?
Dads don't have a role in that at all. I mean, unless we're going to watch the mom actually breastfeed the child, there is no physical role in that. Because
you bring him to me when he cries in the middle of the night.
That's not a role.
To me, that you birth him.
That's a parent.
Oh, okay.
That's a parent. That's not a role.
mind you, that's what all the little Pinterest things say. How can dad have a role?
Dad doesn't have a role in breastfeeding because we're not the one providing the sustenance for the child. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my only drawback of him exclusively breastfeeding is when mom isn't around and he doesn't want this bottle or he doesn't know this bottle, then he's stuck being hungry until mom gets back. Then I feel bad because if mom was gone for like 3, 4, 5 hours and he didn't take this bottle once, and this is probably me reheating 2 different bottles at 2-hour spans, trying not to waste milk in the same sense, but making sure he at least has some attempt on actually taking sustenance some way, somehow. That's my only drawback, because with him exclusively breastfeeding, the one thing a dad's going to have to learn to accept and deal with is the fact that there's a strong chance that the baby may not take the bottle ever again, and might even just pass by that point in their life where they're taking breast milk out of a bottle versus taking breast milk out of a cup. So that might have been my only drawback or my major concern of the whole exclusively breastfeeding, because now if she decides she goes out and for whatever reason may lose track of time or just stay out an extra hour, that's 1 more hour he doesn't eat. And if he doesn't eat, then I physically can't do nothing. I've given him a syringe and he wouldn't take it. I've given him the bottle, he wouldn't take it. So he's just basically just there. Now, the benefit for me is he hasn't cried his head off begging for food. He'll probably just go back to sleep. Just take another quick nap and then wake back up and probably would have forgotten that he's hungry, and then we go through the same nuance all over again. But that'll be the main thing. I don't feel like as a dad I should have to find myself so involved with breastfeeding, because there's nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do in all that. And for that reason, I'm not pressuring myself to try to get deeper in there, because I'm sure there's other like spaces and gaps that I can fill in the midst of all that. So nah, I don't really stress too much in all that. And if there are any fathers that are, I guess, really want to be involved with breastfeeding, then you should take the time to, as many times as he gets on the breast, you should try to counteract that with as many times on the bottle. That way he doesn't lose sight, or he or she doesn't lose sight of this bottle. I can get food from that, because he'll play with it, but he won't eat. So he'll probably get a couple drops in his mouth, swallow a little bit, but spit most of it out. And then we go through this back and forth. At first, it frustrated the mess out of me, because I sat there and I'm just like, you're not eating. And this is getting aggravating because you're not eating. And the only reason why you're not eating is because you don't remember this bottle. At one point in time, we were fine. He was taking the bottle, he was taking the breast, but then we slowed up on it because he spent a lot of time with mom. So with him spending a lot of time with mom, he never really took the bottle. So other than that, I have nothing on that.
Okay, and then another controversial topic. You know, there's the feeding without the cover. Many people feel like moms who feed without the cover are doing it for attention. Other people feel like they're making an effort to normalize breastfeeding in public. And then you have the small few that are just like, the baby's hungry, you're not thinking about that, I just want to whip it out. What was your perspective before he got here, and has that changed? And what's your perspective now? Like Barack Obama question. I myself, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not going to be the type of person to tell you, hey, you need to go cover that up, because if it's out, it's out. But if it can be prevented from being out, I would prefer it not to be. And only for the simple fact of, I'm not going to stare at you and guard the whole situation for what you're doing, because I know what you're doing. But for somebody who doesn't care, which you probably got more weirdos in the world that will just stare just to, stare at, there's a breast. Not like the fact that it's breastfeeding, you're just breast out. We went out one time and there was this old guy. And I was covered.
She was covered, but she had an opening where he can like look in. Now he was walking from behind her, so when he walked from behind her, his head was down. I'm just like, yo, what you doing? Kind of a situation.
And we don't want.
And the main thing is, you run into I guess each his own. Some people absolutely don't care if you stare. Some people do. I kind of see that. I notice that most mothers probably don't care because they're doing this to feed their child, not to put on a show.
Which fathers do.
But I can see, coming from the aspect of a dad, no. I'm not a fan of it at all.
You don't want people looking at.
Nope.
Mom, you don't want people looking at.
Nope. And maybe that's selfish, but that's my opinion. I really don't care. I would prefer it to be covered up. Because it just seems... It eliminates the fact of me having to get up and get in somebody's face for something that is probably
inappropriate.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's not even... Most people won't come up to you and actually tell you need to put that away. They'll give you looks, and they'll probably talk under their breath, but they won't physically come up to you and do that, because at the end of the day, if anybody knows what you're doing, they're going to leave you to keep doing whatever you're doing. So I wouldn't, nah, I'm not with that at all. I say cover it up, and that's just me. I could be completely by myself. And even if I am, I really don't care. I'm not with that at all.
But what I have noticed is that he hasn't been as I don't think anti me having it out, because when we were at Disney and he was hungry while we were on the ride, and not what is that, the ride, the Small World? It's a Small World.
We were in this little thing called the Tiki Room, and
that in the Tiki Room with the birds and the thing that went through the centuries. What's that called? In Tomorrowland? It's a small world.
No. It's the something of tomorrow. I forget the name of it, but it's this little carousel ride that you sit in a room. And it just passes through from the 40s until the early 90s. And, I mean, generally it's dark. It was generally dark in both rooms. Yeah. But in one of the little things that we sat through, we sat in like a cross seating. So there was people parallel to us. Yeah, there's people parallel to us, because there's people that literally was right in front of us that can look back, and then there was people adjacent to us that can look over. And it's not like we sat in the midst of a crowd. We sat right at the end. We can see forward and off to the side and have complete visual. And even worse, there was like a guy like not this far away from Taquay. So I mean, if he decided to look down, he could have seen everything. I don't like that. I can see if it's just you don't want to do it because it's trouble, but I don't know if I kind of entirely agree with the fact that somebody will say, you know, I'm doing this because it's natural, this, that, and the other, and be it as it may, it is. I just feel like whenever you're doing something, you generally appease the majority, not the minority. Everybody's not breastfeeding the same time you're doing it, so everybody's not always going to have the same inviting experience that you're going to give off, which it then becomes a coin flip. Because I'm not saying don't ever do it, because if you got to do it. But some people, I just feel like you just do it for the hell of it. Just because
I understand, because we were having that discussion in one of the group meets today about a mom who's currently breastfeeding her 4-year-old, and some people feel like, you know, that's pushing the envelope. But whether or not you realize it, I want to applaud you on being as supportive as you are to my breastfeeding journey, because Robert, he knows a lot more about breastfeeding. I think he's able to, I hear him when he talks to his friends or other people, he's able to share, educate other people on breastfeeding. I don't know if that's because you hear me pounding all the facts into your head, or if, you know, it's something you low-key have become passionate about because that's how he gets food. But it helps if you have a partner that is willing to support you in your breastfeeding journey, because it's a journey.